welcome, welcome to new episode.
What's up, Harvey?
Sup? How have you been today?
Very good.
We are here with Raj, and today I go behind the scenes of a podcast. So we show you the ins and outs of how you set up a podcast.
So to start off, the podcast is called Speed, Change, Repeat. Right? And we started this podcast actually with a friend of mine, and he is the founder, and I joined in as a co-host not too long ago, actually. So the journey into podcasting started in September of 2019, where I did my first podcast with my mentor just to test things out, see how it goes. And from there, we have done a lot of interesting ones. On the podcast itself, we have hosted several fascinating guests, including, just last week I published an episode with the vice president of Twitter. So right now I'm actually posting the episode that I did a few months ago. And every time we post on a Thursday and on Friday, we make a post on LinkedIn to give it a bit of an awareness. And today I actually posted the episode with the vice president of Twitter, responsible for EMEA region. And the episode is up. You can check it out. We have had people from World Economic Forum, from BMW Group. And what we focus on is artificial intelligence and sustainability. So why are these the two topics that we are so excited about? Is because these are the two topics which are on every boardroom's discussion. Every CEO is somewhat concerned about these things, and rightfully so, because these are the two major challenges as well as spaces of opportunities for us as a society to tackle. We are in Eindhoven in North Brabant today. We've got 3 interviews, and I'm actually trying to find out where our first one is. It should be around close to the central station. It's at the EASY, the gas lab of the TU Eindhoven. We'll find out where it is. We start off with researching what kind of guests we want to get on the show, and that's where generally what I look for is does this person have an interesting story? I'm looking for people who are challenging the status quo. Those are the people that we look for. Once we do find them, there's 2 ways we can do that. Either it's our personal research, so desk research, or it's through our network. Sometimes we do ask people to introduce us to interesting people. Every time I do a podcast, I ask the guest, who do you think it would be a great guest to have? And that actually helps a lot, because once you hit, let's say, the top circle, it is an inner circle of quite selective group of people. They all know each other. To get into the circle is quite hard, but a call from one CEO to another is a matter of it's a matter of minutes, where I have to write tons of emails, messages, trying to convince their secretaries to get their time. So that's why we always ask that if we have a high-profile guest, can you introduce us to more guests on the show? And then also, of course, their review of that person helps. Then you're like, okay, they have validated the claim that this guy is interesting. Let's have a podcast with them as well. After you have the podcast guest, generally about 24 hours before, so a day before, I start doing my research properly, going through more or less the content that they've put forward, read about their profile, starting very first thing, LinkedIn. Second thing, I go through their Twitter. What have they engaged with? What do they care about? As you can see, we have Vitaly here helping me with the setup today, and we have our mics, the cameras, the headphones. That's all set up. We have a nice stand, 2 mics. These are Rode mics. They're quite good and give you that bassy feeling that you expect from a podcast. You got to be pretty close to it, but that's what we're setting up here. We have, I'll show you the recorder. This is what captures the inputs. Where is it? So, and I have to set up. And one by one, we'll set it all up. You'll see the final product.
Okay, that's really good. Oh my god. Am I talking loud right now? Am I talking loud right now?
No, not at all.
I can hear myself very loud.
I
can increase the...
Decrease it a bit. This is... Oh, no. More. Stop. I think it's good.
Our podcast is divided into three pieces. The personal story, we always first start with the question, who are you? And when we ask that question, what we want to know is like, what is your background? Because without context, we can talk about AI, we can talk about all these difficult, aspects, but we got to know where you come from. You got to know what this person has done, where have they worked before, what is their background. I'll say a few things, what I observe, and then you can kick in and mention some things. Yeah. Sometimes I take a seat back a bit, listen to the story, so it's very informal, Close.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So like probably about 10 centimeters. Yeah.
Okay.
But is that a convenient place to sit? Otherwise we can move a bit. Funny thing is, there's interesting guests we have had who are heads of AI and robotics with psychology background. And just for people who are like, oh my God, I could have studied psychology and now I'm doing this. And then from there, you go into what they do and what do they do for the companies that they're in. What is the mission that they're on? And that's more of the kind of industry level, the company level. And from there, you take it out to the bigger picture of what do these people care about? What are the challenges do they see? What is one thing that keeps them awake at night? What is the problem that they care so much about that they want to solve? And finally, we end our podcast with a prediction question. And that's always funny because AI is a space where any prediction is going to be wrong. But that's the whole point. So we ask people to give a prediction. And now, to be prepared for all these levels of conversation, you got to have knowledge on all sorts of things. The person themselves, but also the industry that they're operating in, the company that they work for, and overall the market changes, the industry changes that are happening, because otherwise you're not relevant. So because this is my field, I read a lot and I consume tons of content on this space. So the industry aspect and the global aspect is kind of natural now. Once the chat is over, that's where actually a lot of the operational task is, the mixing, the mastering, and those are all the terms that you have to look into. But it's basically, when you do audio, it shoots in two different files, and then you actually have to combine them into two, remove some background noise, equalize it, all that kinds of stuff. And then you have an MP3 file.
Let's try to go our own track.
I enjoy the conversations that I have. I enjoy learning from these experts right on that moment. The amount of knowledge, the amount of wisdom you can get from that is just exciting. That is what I love getting out of it. And that concludes our day. We had a great day. 3 podcasts, TU Eindhoven, Daft Trucks. I think at this point, Friday evening, it's time for a beer. Peace out. One of the quotes that I live by is challenge the known and embrace the unknown. Now that divides into, challenging the known. Like, why do we do things the way we do? Why is the sky blue to something why democracy runs the way it does? And technology gives us an opportunity to actually test a lot of our existing notions. And it's also the other side of the equation is the embracing the unknown. There's so much of unknown that we are putting forward with the advent of technology, and that is exciting. Well, so you can find the podcast Speed Change Repeat on the major podcast interfaces on iTunes, so Apple Podcast or Spotify. Just go in on your phone, type in Speed Change Repeat, have a listen, and give us a comment. Cheers.
Like, subscribe, and share. And tell me if you like this kind of content, because I've been trying to do something different now. I've been vlogging my travels, and I thought maybe going behind the scenes of someone doing something cool like a podcast would be interesting for you guys. So let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed watching Raj. Also, if you like the content, more of this is coming soon. So, ciao!